Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show the day after the U.S. Open, Matt. I wanted to take you through just some social media reaction. Unsurprisingly, of course, DeChambeau himself tweets, "Make it 2," he says. And his team, remember, he's the captain of Team Crushers on the LIV Golf Tour. And they're also, look at that, they're tweeting, they're the 2024 U.S. Open champion. The U.S. Open and Pinehurst Resort also sending out some congratulatory stuff, which is, of course, wonderful. And even Phil Mickelson, sort of the face of the LIV Tour, especially at the beginning, getting into the mix. Bryson is a stallion. What a thrilling U.S. Open, an amazing performance. Congrats, etc., etc. And then you mentioned a little bit about the interaction, Matt, with the crowd, the fuel he got from the crowd. Well, one of the things he did is in his post-round speech on the green, he said, "I'm going to let all the fans touch this trophy," which sounded a bit odd, but here you go. He's letting all the fans touch this trophy. And even more so, Andrew, play the thing from Sky Sports. It shows you how interactive he was.
Here comes Bryson with the trophy right now. He is running
to
the crowd right here.
Look at the right there. Look, Bryson comes running. There he comes. Hey, look. And then he comes and he interrupts a live broadcast. And he says, hold on, I'm out of here. I'm gonna do what I promised. Watch this. And then he goes and he's letting all the fans touch the trophy there. So I think his interactivity with the crowd, Matt, not just in these images that we're showing, and you can see the people joyfully in the background just on their feet in excitement, but I think throughout the tournament, from round one on, even in the practice rounds, he seemed just so engaged with the crowd. A lot of autographs, a lot of high fives. There was a lot of stuff on social media after the round. Last night, we're talking 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. He was in the dark, still talking to fans, still signing autographs. So he's not just walking the walk, he's talking the talk, Matt.
Very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff indeed. Hey, Andrew, would you replay it for us? I just think it's so cool. The shot that he hit from the bunker and the winning putt. This is so incredible. I mean, who out there, who thought that he could get it this close? Right, when I was looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, if he can get this within 10 or 20 feet, it would be a good shot. And then when he hit that putt, and he kind of crouched down and like flexed his arms, and the putter was up in the air. That photo that you have, Andrew, is that going to be the photo that we remember? You know, because we had the repose of Payne Stewart in 1999. That's the shot that everybody remembers from 1999. Is this the image that will be forevermore? Or will it be the exact same timing, the exact same position, but the wider shot with more of the grandstand behind him? I mean, as we were going through this, as Don was playing a lot of the social media reaction, as he played the Sky Sports video, as Bryson was going through the crowd and letting people touch the trophy, and then we saw this, the entire time I'm getting chills running up my spine because of the history that we were able to see. Which brings me back to what I promised you guys that we would talk about, which is Bryson. You know, the way that he was talking to the media before we took that break and talking about what he was calling the future of the game, obviously the future of the professional game, and the prospect of the PGA Tour and LIV Golf coming together. And I'd be remiss if I wasn't honest with you that it was the talk of the media center down at the U.S. Open. There is wide speculation, in some cases conviction, amongst very credible media sources that as soon as tomorrow we are going to hear information from the PGA Tour and from LIV about some agreements that they may have come to along the lines of this process, even if, however it's defined. I've heard various definitions of what people saying it's going to be, including one of them being that an agreement in principle of the two organizations becoming one. We shall see as the next 24, 48 hours come together, because the general consensus that I was hearing from these people who are convinced that the information that they're getting, and much of this information in terms of being honest with you guys and sourcing, is coming from agents that have players on both tours. And so they're coming to this information. So they are convinced that the tours, plural, did not want to announce the significance of what they have accomplished to this point in their negotiations, because they didn't want to take any of the glory away from the U.S. Open and what the USGA accomplished this week. And I think that's very, very fair. I thought Pinehurst number 2, just as an aside here for a second, was an absolutely brilliant stage for the U.S. Open. There are people out there right now, as I say that, and they're going to disagree with me and say, no, there's quirkiness to that golf course, etc. I get that. Right? What I liked about it was I didn't sense that the quirkiness, if you call it that, of Pinehurst number 2 was due to setup decisions. Pinehurst number 2 is Pinehurst number 2 because of the anomaly of the sand belt that runs through that part of the state that goes back to the Ice Age. What you essentially had in many ways was a links golf course that's inland. Right? Even saying it, it's odd to discuss because that's much of what we were seeing in terms of the way that the ball released and what you had to do in certain circumstances and what would happen accordingly. But to the point of Bryson DeChambeau, because I'm sure you guys want to comment on this, and I'm going to bring Dom in to share with me some of the responses that you guys have on this day after. There was the Bryson that we thought that we knew on the PGA Tour. And as you guys know, I've always been supportive of Bryson because I've always thought that Bryson was foremost when it came to the PGA Tour, more misunderstood than he was the person that people were trying to define him as being. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. I think when Bryson came out on tour, and I think it was a maturity thing, I think that Bryson immediately thought that he was going to be the most popular kid in school, right? Everybody loves the long ball, getting bulked up, the protein shakes that soon we find out that the amount that he was consuming was too much. It was causing him to be dizzy and not feel well, etc. The speed training it was doing, aside from the damage that it did to his left wrist, which was significant, aside from we found out yesterday and the day before that it caused tears and ligaments in his hips. All of that was, I think, Bryson trying to play the role of the person that Bryson thought everyone saw him as and or everybody wanted him to be. So that Bryson, I think, and again, I say it, I don't say it as a judgment, I say it as a maturity thing. I think that Bryson was trying to play a role. Remember the Bryson that got into it a little bit with the cameraman saying, look, I'm just out here to entertain you. Heard that quote. He believes in it. That's who he's always been. But the camera was right in his face, et cetera, et cetera. You're damaging my brand, all the rest. That was the Bryson that people like to say. The phrase that I heard most often about Bryson in those days was, he just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. This Bryson gets it. This is a Bryson, I believe, that is no longer trying to play a role. That Bryson formerly got on the nerves of a lot of people because when he got to that schoolyard, to continue with that metaphor, there were other alpha dogs already there. And some of them didn't like the way that Bryson made the show about Bryson. Namely, what happened with Brooks Koepka. Right? Your perspective is your perspective. If you think that Brooks' opinion of Bryson was correct or incorrect there, all I can tell you is that Bryson in those days, Brooks wasn't the only one that annoyed his fellow players. And so Bryson gets, call it caught, if you will, but he did it in front of a camera, the rolling of the eyes, blah, 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 and then the reaction that came with it. I felt then, as I do now, that the way that Brooks reacted to Bryson was, again, continuing that metaphor, schoolyard bullying. Was Bryson perfect? No, he wasn't perfect. Did Bryson handle himself with the utmost of propriety in the moment all the time? Was Bryson at times subject to diva-like behavior and petulance? Yes, he was. Okay, admit it. But the way that Brooks reacted to it, getting the crowd engaged, calling him Brooksy, et cetera, some of his sponsors actually got involved in it. It didn't become fun. it became an overreaction. And we knew that it was beating up on Bryson. It felt very much like piling on bullying to me. Right? And then Bryson ends up going to LIV. Brooks ends up, interesting enough, going to LIV. They seemingly have found a balance between each other. But then Bryson found his outlets. He found a way that he could be, as he put it, him. And YouTube was very much a part of that. Now, in balance to that, this was part of what Phil Mickelson was complaining about from the very beginning, saying they can't even put things out there because of the way the tour owns their rights. So in the prospect of perhaps the tours taking a further step towards, I'll call it a reconciliation if you want, or a union, will that mean that players like Bryson will continue to be able to generate content that is connecting with millions? I believe that engagement very much led to what we saw this past weekend from Bryson DeChambeau. I believe that Bryson is, maybe for the first time as a touring professional, comfortable in his own skin. Comfortable being who he truly is. The joy that we saw on Sunday evening from Bryson, his willingness to get engaged, the fact that he is an entertainer by his own account, he enjoys playing that role. I think it's tremendous. So we have seen significant changes in Bryson. What I'm suggesting to you is I don't think that we've seen a change in the core essence of who Bryson is. I think we've seen a revelation of that. I think that's who he's always been. He just didn't know how to translate that from the person that he was on the PGA Tour that came with expectation, it came with assumptions, it came with even some senses of entitlement, to the person that he is now that's kind of gone through the valleys of all that and is rebuilt. Is Bryson DeChambeau right now, in your opinion, not the most popular player in the game? Think about what I just said when you reflect on just a couple of years ago. But is Bryson right now the most popular player in the game? Is that a fair assessment? And was it not classic sport that as I asked you that question, you reflect that he was in the battle down the stretch with Rory McIlroy, who probably, in fairness, I would guess would be the player that if I'd asked that same question 24 or 48 hours ago, that you may have had a conviction to go, no, it's this guy. But then think about what we saw from Bryson. The video that Andrew was just playing for you there, the way that Bryson was engaging with the audience. It wasn't just like, hey, I accomplished what I came here to accomplish. See ya, I'm out of here. He took the time to go back and express that gratitude, that thanks that we opened today's show's clip with. To let the people be engaged, to make this victory to be about them as well. Think about what we've seen from the best of the best over the last, couple of decades or more. There wasn't this level of engagement. There wasn't this level of we're all in this together. It was more about building up walls and fences and trenches and keep your distance from me. I'm doing what I'm doing to give you what you want. Now give me my space, my privacy, and my rewards from what I accomplished. That's not what we're seeing from Bryson DeChambeau. This is the guy that instead of people questioning, well, I saw him signing autographs after his round for a long time, but was that all about playing up to the cameras? What you saw from Bryson was not about playing up to the cameras because he didn't have to do any of that. He still would have left Pinehurst #2 being called the champion of the people without taking all the time that he took to engage everybody and do what he did. Was he aware of the cameras there? Sure he is, because he admitted he's a showman. That's part of who he is now. That's part of the revelation that we've gotten to see. Okay, Dom, if you don't mind, let me pull you in here because I'm dying to find out what we're hearing from the audience, what we're hearing from the people, and depending upon where you're catching the Fairways of Life show today, you can log on to the Fairways of Life show's YouTube channel. Please make sure that you are subscribed there, and please click the like button. We have already picked the winner for the Ford set of irons from Wilson. And next up, I'm going to give you, I think I'm going to do TaylorMade driver. So anyway, but that's aside from that. Dom, what are you hearing from the people? I'm really curious to hear what the responses are.
Overwhelmingly positive with regards to Bryson. G. Willis writes, in my view, Bryson's performance was exceptional. considering the additional burden and effort of fan engagement. Bryson did great stuff after his win, Paul says. I've never seen a major winner do that. That's amazing, Chase says. That was in reference to the video you saw of him talking to the fans and stuff. Let's see. Again, there's so much stuff coming in, and we do appreciate it. I'm just trying to cruise around to find what I can. Bryson's YouTube channel gives him another outlet, which only helps golf. What a victory by Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson pulled off the best win and humble victory. The tour needs to learn from that, he says. And again, there's also a lot of live and tour stuff coming in, of course, as there would be. But again, overwhelmingly positive stuff coming in. I haven't seen anything come in, Matt, that was negative. I think everybody enjoyed how things unfolded yesterday, nervous or otherwise, pressure or otherwise, and coming out on the other side, a stunning win by a great man and golfer. Well done, Bryson, they're writing. Great win for golf, bringing the golf word together. Love the emotion, great champion. Bryson did say the best fans in golf were there, and they were. Bryson's determined and passionate spirit produced that winning bunker shot on 18. Again, there's so much stuff coming in, Matt. I mean, I could just, I'm scrolling, but I could read comments like that nonstop. All this positivity surrounding Bryson. I know I tend to ramble, but I just have 3 quick thoughts with regard to this and what you were just saying and Bryson there. The first is, I think Bryson's the first golfer in a while. I'm hesitant to say since Arnold Palmer, because that's a bold statement, but who recognizes the entertainment value of what we have at our disposal here. And he is leaning into that full bore. He has got 700,000 subscribers on YouTube, 300,000+ subscribers on X. He's over 1 million, well over 1 million in social media following. And he is connecting like other golfers haven't connected, at least recently. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? I feel like Brooks is very well liked as well. But that's not his personality. His personality isn't to lean into the crowd, to be all with the fans. Bryson, you can have both of these things at the same time, in my opinion. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is, and I don't want to go off here, like I don't want to go off on like a fork in the road. But Andrew, can you play the winning putt again and his reaction to the winning putt? Listen, I don't know nothing from nothing, Matt. Okay? Nothing from nothing. But we have got to figure out how that gets in the Ryder Cup. We can't keep that off the Ryder Cup. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not on anybody's side, but we've got to figure that out. That has to be in the Ryder Cup. Full stop. How can you argue against that?
Yeah, my hope is, it's funny because I was doing a golf correspondent for CBS Sports radio network, and I was on last night, and they were asking me about Bryson's significance, given the fact that he plays for LIV, and we know that LIV and the PGA Tour are, according to various accounts, and as I mentioned to you earlier in the program, advancing. And he said in the clip that we had played for you guys about how he's hoping that the future of the game, that they come together. I think his victory actually puts even more pressure on the bodies to get something done, to make something happen. So that not only in a Ryder Cup, but also more frequently, we get an opportunity to see a competition like this. And to Dom's comment, to follow up on it, you used Brooks Koepka as an example, which was a good example, I think, about saying he's not a Bryson type guy. He's not going to engage the same way that Bryson does. That's fine. You can have different personalities, just like you noted going back and saying, well, Arnold Palmer engaged with the people in a different way than, say, even Jack Nicklaus did. Arnold Palmer wanted to be amongst the people. He wanted to be thrust right into the middle of them like Bryson. And so it goes back to this same line of thinking that I was saying to you guys in the last segment, where did you think that Bryson, seriously, did you think a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe more, that Bryson would be the guy that could be bringing the game back together? And I don't mean to make more of it than what fairly should be there, but I'm saying from the standpoint of going, I think right now, everyone that loves the game, even if you're heartbroken, that you're some huge fan of, say, Rory McIlroy, and you're heartbroken with the results, you still can look at what was accomplished from Bryson and the fact that he shared his joy with everyone that wanted to partake in it. It was an incredibly cool experience.